wacky picks, maybe not wacky, but just kind of more
Different,
niche
something
picks.
different.
But it's first pick Jace here for LNG, so we know where their priorities lie at this point, and it does provide a little bit of flexibility too. But there's still the Yuumi champion, the all-known Doomsday Kitty Cat on the table, and there's a double lock-in potential for RA. They go ahead and get that Aphelios.
Yeah. Getting
it's
as
the
well
Ahri.
as the Ahri takes away some kill potential for Scout, a champion that Scout this split specifically has really found a lot of impact on. And interestingly enough here, RA in a bit of a kind of cool position here. They could grab that Yuumi like we were talking about. I think that they should try to look for a jungler here. Maybe we do end up picking that Kha'Zix or the Wukong that is still available, because there are still a lot of supports that Aphelios can still work with. LNG have not even picked their bottom lane here. So
Yeah.
RA, start to get rid of those. I like the Varus. I want to see Xayah next as the priority.
I will say, coming into this one, we had a very specific thought in mind when we were looking at this jungle matchup, because there is one thing that is consistent with Tarzan, and it is if you slip one time, he will wrestle away the entire game from you and choke hold you out. You'll wake up going into round 2 wondering what happened. And I think with the Maokai, you get that style from him, right? He is waiting to see what you do, and he's trying to react to it. And I think that gives LNG so much strength around objectives, around control, around macro decisions. And now with this Kha'Zix locked in, it's all about that forward aggression. And if you can get those punches in for RA, as we go into the second phase, we get that Varus, the Lucian, and that Sion ban.
Oh. Thinking of other top laners. Okay, cool. So they do ban the Yuumi. We are in good. We are doing good. We're eating tonight, Leonard. We do not have to worry about any kind of Yuumi shenanigans like we did yet last night, and really for all of pro play so far these last couple patches. So LNG, what are you going to pick for your bottom lane? They have not been the most proactive at playing around the dragon, so I do think that we're probably going to see something that is going to scale later in the game. It's going to give Gala the team fight tools. A lot of the AD carries have all of that, and I'm thinking it's going to be a Xayah. If not, I mean, there's been some talk about maybe Ezreal coming back, but just don't think it has enough firepower to really punch through a lot of these tanks.
With Gala's track record, Xayah makes sense, but also with the peel ability that you have on the Xayah, it just makes a ton of sense on this composition, because you're going to have a lot of forward momentum from RA. I will say we've been getting this a lot more recently. It is the counter pick support coming through, but that Nautilus was locked in for LNG.
So I like what they're hovering right now for RA. They're just kind of going through it. Braum has been the most popular. Obviously, it is a great answer into the Nautilus. It will mean that RA are lacking a little bit of engage. They're going to be playing much more reactive. They're going to be trying to play against the dive. We look at what LNG have. You have a long-range Jace to be able to poke out. Gala is going to be able to put out as much damage as he wants. And more of that control when we see from Tarzan with this Maokai sending in that ultimate just means that RA, they're going to have to either have a very strong punch when we're talking about their entrance in the fight with their jungle and mid combo, or play back, wait for LNG to play into their hands, and let Xiao Shu just rip with a massive Gragas ultimate, or assume with this Aphelios.
And we saw a lot of positive things when Xiao Shu was able to get ahead in his lane itself, but I do appreciate that RA are all inning into the momentum-based composition. We're going forward, we're going to fight you. We hope, you know, that Asub can stay alive and follow up some of that damage, but it is just about how they're approaching this game against LNG, because LNG are, again, just kind of waiting back, waiting to see what that swing is going to be, and all eyes will be on Tarzan versus Leon early and how quickly the team can kind of mesh around that, because it looks right now that LNG just have a composition that as you let the game go on, it'll get even more difficult for them to, at least for RA, to find a way in.
It will be a little bit difficult. There are still, I don't think there's enough tanks to be able to say that like LNG can just stand there and stand in front of RA and there's not going to be much for them to do. But that control that something like a Maokai will be able to offer stops Kha'Zix from finding flanks. From Kha'Zix like, oh, I'm going to walk into this brush. Why is there a sapling in here, man? Like, I can't do anything. I can't get into these fights fast enough for my team.
Yeah. Well, here we go on to the Rift for game number 1, the start of our super day here, as we're in the home arena of LNG. We're seeing them contest RA.
Oh, Feather, wait a minute.
Best of 3.
You might have to
You're
use
a
the
little bit
flash.
caught here. That's a lot of damage that's going to be coming onto Feather, and I don't think you have a way out of that one. Dreadsland says, get back here, and first punch goes to LNG. There might be a second one here. Strive.
Okay, Scout, flash to try to find it.
Oh, the RA! Oh my God, Scout! You just did the math in real time, baby. Tarzan already has RA in a chokehold here. Scout comes out and just sweeps the leg. Just takes him right out from under you.
It's Scorch. It's Scorch max range shock blast.
Xiaoshu maybe needs to be a little bit careful. There's the flash. The cast comes back, but not under turret. Both top laners a little bit worse for wear. Looking to back away from the 1v1.
Wait, Lian's coming.
We got Lian on a tear towards this fight, and here he comes. He's got the smite, he's got the evisceration, and Lian gets RA on the board.
Look what LNG are at. RA, if they are going to be side laning, that can be a spot for them to punish, find kills onto Zika, push him off of the objective, and get gold in their pocket, which they so desperately need right now.
Oh, RA, they found themselves in a sticky situation there. They pulled the trigger on the TP. The Xiaoshu come to save the day. It's an all-in affair. You got Moonlight Vigil connecting on a 3 here. A lot of shock rooms for Assume, but here comes Scout on the side, and Loya dies to Hung as Scout goes for another engage, but he's by himself as everything's been traded down. They lost Hung for LNG, but here comes Gala. He looked for it, flash over the wall, and here comes Gala for your life. Can't get the kill there, but the sapling might. As the shock blast goes a bit wide, it's running season from RA, and they're just trying to get the bodies out. Xiaoshu gets sniped by Scout.
And the entire time that is happening, they got not only the teleport from Xiaoshu, but Zika is taking a turret in that side lane.
For them, the expectation is LNG will rise to 4-2 tonight over RA, getting that win, but RA have that give, have that gumption to try to contest them. It's fight like this that start well, the fight afterwards, the follow-up is all LNG.
I would love this idea if Assume was in a better spot to be able to deal damage right there. Scout collapsing on this fight. They needed to make a pick, and they needed to do it fast. And for RA, it just wasn't in the cards. They're a little too far behind in terms of the gold. It doesn't turn into too much of a kill. They do eventually get Xiaoshu, but I love that Gala is willing to flash over that wall and continue. Scout not getting as lucky this time with the max range shock blast.
Feather's like, I feel the singe on my beard, on his goatee, because he's Braum, I guess. But you do have to be a little bit careful now redeploying onto the map for RA. I think a lot of confidence has been gained by LNG. Sometimes that can be a little bit of overconfidence. We'll see if a Scout and Hung get punished
Lian,
here.
though.
Loyan has been looking for these angles, and now he's going to find it on the Scout, trying to get the isolation as there's the charm. The Glacial Fissure, the knock-up Scout. He does go down, almost takes Loyan with him as Hung.
All of LNG really kind of still feeling out their spots as, I didn't even realize Tarzan died before this fight. Okay, we were just in the replay for a little bit. That's 2 kills and a turret. That's really good, actually.
He got the mechanical outplay on Strive by getting the dodge of the charm and the combo, but then he died anyway. So, you know, commit to the bid, I guess. And then this is how Loyan ended up in this position.
I do like how Lian actually played that fight. Did not want to give Scout an out by staying out of range of hammer form to the skies. And eventually goes in to try to find that execute. It is going to turn into more kills. But now, Dragon spawning here. RA are first to the play, and it means that Tarzan is going to have a tough time walking into this river, is going to really have to face the brunt force of his opponent. And the entire time now, Scout has finished his second item, has that mirror mana completed. Look at where Zika
They're pulling the triggers. Oh, Tarzan gets the dragon. That second dragon secured. They're taking the fight out. Xiaoshu's gone. They are just eviscerating one by one RA. I didn't even see that coming, but they get caught on the flank, and now LNG is committing. The depth charge goes across multiple members, and Zika has claimed Assume's life. Scout with the haymaker over the side. It is just hell for RA right now.
They cannot do anything in these fights. Amazing for this dragon. We were supposed to get it. We were supposed to be the chosen ones for this objective, not you. 30 HP on that dragon. And Zika with this amazing teleport finds the flank. RA are corralled into the bottom side. and they are fighting for their
God.
lives in this bottom, but it is just not enough. Assume has to build a cleanse. There's nothing they can do. LNG are now slapping them with their wallets.
The amount of damage that Scout is doing is just insane. Not going to find anything for LNG.
Lennon, do you know what happens when you click on Hullbreaker in your inventory? You know what it does? I am hunting alone. And then it also says, you are too close. And it says it in chat. So
spam.
You need to be, if I'm Zika, you can hear the, like, I get away from me, Scout. I love you. You're doing great, but I need to be able to hit
I have
this.
3
Oh,
items and I get to do whatever I want. As they're going all the way into mid lane, look at Scout. Oh, he doesn't hit it. But he does go in with the hammer down. As now Scout flashing away, gets knocked up in the end. Xiaoshu is here as a frontline agent for RA. Doesn't look like any of those shots are gonna hit. I love that I point out Scout and he misses all the accelerated shot class.
That's the ultimate caster curse right there. It's not enough
You're
for us to be able to...
Scout. You're welcome, RA.
You can't be right all the time, and that's okay. Just like Scout, sometimes we take some shots.
To your new home, okay? You're still getting used to it, all right? You're still trying to feel yourself out.
Hey. It's also still week 3. We are getting to that halfway strive. We just gotta, like, he's doing it from Fog of War, so there's actually just no way you can see this coming unless you have it. Immediately, RA are just going to start up this Baron, but look at what Zika is doing. He is pushing. He's getting the inhibitor here. RA are stuck.
Okay, they're gonna, no, LNG says, nah, you want to fight? We'll take the fight, baby. As they're going straight in, the Baron taken by the Jungle King, Tarzan. As LNG have come for RA's head in game number 1, and they'll come up big with it.
They can just end the game through bottom lane if they need to. You see the pings coming in. An insanely great fight. Good hands coming out from Scout as he wanted to finish off Strive. Gets the flash out of the RA, the last remaining member, one of the franchise players since the inception of RA. Is just going to have to watch as this game 1 just explodes around him. His Nexus doing the same.
And Scout, man, what can you say about this guy in game number 1? He spent so much time in EDG's arms. He has found a home at LNG last split, and now LNG, when they have control, they look like one of the best teams in the LPL. And Scout with the Jace, they first picked it, by the way, on blue side, and he shows why it's worth.
It's just not hitting for me, especially since we've seen it for the last 6 months.
Got all the Scout fans in the audience there as well. Just love to see the live audience too, as we're going to be getting into picks and bans of game number 2 here. RA on the blue side, as we had said. We'll have LNG on that red side. 1-0 up so far in their home arena of Shuzhou. And now we have the Jace, the Zeri ban from RA. So some respect given over to Scout, but the Nico and the Vi by LNG.
This does mean that there is a missing ban here. They're not going to be able to get rid of Scout's Annie. And LNG sticking with some pretty similar bans, but the Rakan still available for Feather. I expect for RA, if they want to make sure that they can grab Feather, something that's going to allow them to make some early plays, link up with Leyen, that is something that they could prioritize, but there is a ton of champions for them to go for. The Yuumi is still available. They could go for that Aphelios again, or pick up the Wukong. There you go. There's that Rakan.
There it is. So Feather gonna get his comfort champion here on that Rakan. LNG might just feel confident to take this Zai on the other side. They did in game number 1 for Gala, and it will be the case yet again. So a very safe ADC for a would-be carry.
And LNG, they can just pick their mid laner here if they want. They can go for another Ahri pick if necessary. That Annie that was banned in the first game. Scout has been putting a lot of games onto this champion and has felt as impactful as much as you can with an Annie, especially with how much we've seen her rise this year, especially. Rare Adam could look to pick up another AD carry, look for maybe their jungle matchup for Leyen to try to get that before the next round of bans.
It is tried and true for LNG, though, getting something that can be mobile out of mid lane and connect with Tarzan. That has been the strongest 2v2, at least, situation for LNG in a lot of their matchups. While they can rely on Gala later game, they do tend to find a lot of their leads through the priority Scout provides, but Tarzan's aggression. We will actually see Strive pick up that Ahri here as a response.
into Xayah, what AD carry are you really going to want to pick up? It seems like for Rare Adam, they're going to wait. They're going to say there's a couple of pairings that we are feeling more than comfortable with for Assume as we head into the second phase, or waiting for the last pick here on the first phase for LNG. I did want to comment quickly. 2 weeks ago was actually Assume's 1-year anniversary for joining Rare Adam. So happy that he's able to make it. And for Assume, who has been in the LPL for a little bit, is still kind of looking to make that journey as a fresh AD carry into the league, now cresting over the 2-year mark. Like, what can you do? Let's see what that journeyman looks like, experience looks like for this AD carry.
Originally started with Suning's LDL roster way back in the day in 2020. That does not feel like as a sub for the main roster as well, but then went to the Weibo Gaming youth camp, and then ended up on LGD for a long while, at least one split. And then now here he is with Rare Adam for himself a bit of a representation in a league that is so full of so many great AD carries.
For sure.
And he's sitting across from one right now, Gala, who has himself found a new home coming into this split, and he's looking right at home there. Now we do get that Aphelios ban and the Draven ban towards Assume. The Draven ban definitely towards a comfort for him. We also get that Sejuani focus, and I'm sure continued jungle focus here for RA in the second ban phase. It is that
Whoa,
Viego.
no, guys, I'm so sad. That was a selfish pick for me. And LNG just slam it. You talked about it, about the draft and how they just were flying through the picks. LNG, they know exactly what they want. They're going to give no time for RA to kind of mull over some of their choices. Just getting everything they want. This Poppy is going to do wonders against the likes of what we've seen already for RA. And if you're going to take a immobile AD carry like a Jinx, there's going to be a Poppy living on top of her with the Annie, with this Nautilus.
Yeah, and that just combos so well with that duo. But let alone that, when we had the Poppy coming back into the meta last year, Tarzan and Tien were the ones I always looked towards, because they were the ones going for these crazy Hex Flash pathings that would just absolutely catch everyone awry at like level 2s. So I want to see if that continues to be the case here on this new age Poppy for Tarzan, but we do get a tried and true pick and a matchup we see consistently if left open. It is the Gwen versus Cassante in the top lane.
Okay, well, Zika now on a bit of a carry. We had set them up as more of those tank top laners, going for maybe a little bit more AD in terms of the bruisers. But here now goes for the counter pick here. So LNG are feeling more than comfortable with what they've gotten themselves. They have a lot of self-sufficient carries for, in terms of the Gwen, in terms of the Xayah, and great setup this time. Something that I thought if they weren't able to get ahead in game one, maybe they'd be lacking just a little bit. But Poppy, Nautilus, similar vein into, you know, hey, instead of a Maokai, we're getting more. And I will say, Lennon, I am happy that it's Poppy, not only because it's not Maokai, but you got more skill expression. There is a ton of cool things that Tarzan can do on this champ.
And also just putting the brakes on a lot of forward momentum that RA are going to be looking for, right? You catch a big all-outed Cassante with the Keeper's Verdict, well, you're not going to be all out, are you? And there's a lot of avenues here, a lot of mechanical expression. Honestly, across both teams, I love that Feather gets his comfort on the Rakan, but we're going to be getting into a game 2 that is a make or break in this best of 3 for RA. They got smacked upside the head and maybe a little bit of chokehold in game number 1 by Tarzan and co. Scout on that Jace was looking mighty fine, but it's LNG with expectations set on a win here and a potential sweep over RA in their home arena to get themselves to 4-2 and try to get those upper echelons. We see RA hitting the rift now to try to bring us to 3. Come over to RA and still have that and be able to represent it on the stage in a lot of these top tier matchups is really nice.
Wow, that early
Speaking
trade
of,
like hung.
They might have it. That's a flash from Assume. He wants to try to get it. The cleanse comes through. One more. It's not enough. And now he's in a little bit of trouble as Gala steps up a little bit too far. There'll be trades in the 2v2.
Oh man, all right, well, this is a good start. I was gonna say, the trade in mid lane for Strive means that he's gone through all of his corrupting pots and is still half HP, is chugging on them right now to make sure he's able to get back. Early level 2 here for Rare Adam's bot lane. A much better early game compared to what we saw in game 1, and hopefully it means that for them, will be a much more competitive game. As the bot lane there, I mean, Gala hanging on by a thread, trying to make sure that he's still alive and kind of baiting them in under the turret.
But that's why you pick this Xayah for Gala, because in an age where we can see Gala pop off on the likes of the Aphelios, the Zeres, he can also be a late game carry if you just get him there. And a Xayah will get you there at some point. So definitely play into that game plan for LNG. And right back to the game one game plan of Tarzan bullying Lien.
Even Scouts moving on over, so finding that poke onto Strive is still paying dividends here. Land, the only camp he has on this bottom side are the Krugs, but look at what's happening. Hung, after getting back from that reset, is now either going to be able to look for a Hex Flash here, or they're just going to try and contest.
Oh, the hook actually connects. There's a TP now coming down. That will be Strive joining the fight. LNG in a 4v4. Big knockup from Feather. That's out of 3 members. The charm going to connect. Hung's going down. It's a trade back and forth, though. I think it was actually Strive that got first blood. And you look back across it is chaos in game 1 that comes out on top for RA.
Okay, LNG going a little too far right there. Hung could not do much. There's not a lot of flash kills. We get to look at this replay. I mean, look at where the damage dealers are. Gala's nowhere near this fight. Scout is half health, and again, not in effective range. And all of RA were just playing this beautifully, especially after
right
this.
Here.
Yeah, Feather,
oh
man.
My god. But I think it's good heads-up play from LNG. They realize things are going awry. They turn back around as quickly as possible. And you actually saw there.
Tarzan, even avoiding this, already has the ward down first. Don't know if they're going to try and make this play. Scout is level 5 and does... Oh, Tarzan.
We got that engage there as well. Hung trying to get around the corner, but Tarzan will just go down to Lien. Strive on the other side, though. Lien getting low. He does get traded. So it will be jungle for jungle as both teams actually go back to lane.
It's funny. I will say Tarzan maybe showing a little bit of mechanical rust on the Poppy right now. The W's are just not coming out in time, and it allows for this team to engage, for them to escape, where maybe LNG were not expecting it. We're talking about that Feather engage comes out a little too late before the grand entrance comes in. And here again, Tarzan goes down. It's more kills into the back pocket of RA. It is that 1-for-1 like you were talking about, but when Tarzan is not on the map, Radom are feeling very comfortable.
So far, my favorite part about this second game is the full commit. And we're seeing a full commit. And assume you're going to commit to a death. Gala gets him on the board. 1 kill for the 80 carry of LNG.
Such a close fight right there. I mean, Assume almost had his flash. And so LNG, they have the opportunity. They can try to get this wave under the turret and then look to pressure onto the dragon, but are instead just kind of sitting here. You see Tarzan, he's not fully committing. Scout just drops the Tibbers on top of Strive, and he's like, all right, cool, so there's my trade. I'm going to control mid now as the
There's 3/4 of your health, God. What are you going to do now? Your move. I just threw a giant buff Teemo at you. Oh, look at that replay. The attempted engage from Feather, but it was a consistent 3v3 that we were watching develop, and then the trigger got pulled.
Exactly. Immediately after Hung uses some of his spells, it opens up for Feather to get down and dirty. It's exactly what we would expect from him on this Rakan, his most picked champion, the one that he has felt most comfortable with all split long.
Does that change things? Okay,
right.
Feather survives.
That actually does significantly change things. Unless they can find
They're
this
going to go
pick
back
here.
in. Look for Scout, though. Scout wants a big
That's
Tibbers.
one.
He can't get in, though, as already Assume has claimed a kill and is running away speedily. Zika is here with that needlework. Should be able to sew down Lien to the grave. And he's trying to chase down Feather here as well. It will be a response. Both jugglers go down yet again.
Kills in their back pocket, and that just means gold for LNG as Feather, my man, you're just too far up. The start of this fight looks so good as Assume was able to find resets.
Yeah, they had a nice turn, right? And that's decisiveness that you don't see that often displayed right in front of you. But it's still the fact that LNG had all their guns ready to go.
They were even able... This is huge for them. This makes it so hard for them to contest. Now they're going to make an engage.
Over the wall. Scout went with the preemptive Tibbers, and it might have just made the fight. LNG go right to the heart of RA, and that might just be a little 1v1 going on in the side. Mega Death Rocket doesn't make a difference, though. Zika with a double kill. We're going to take a replay of that. And look at this flash from...
Damage so they can get a reset. The fact that Zika doesn't go down here, just a heartbreaker. It's as close as I think I'm going to get to Viego this game.
That
right
flash
now,
from Hung,
you can
man.
see, yeah, they're just getting more kills. And in the picture-in-picture, with that redeploy, or with all of the backs coming from LNG, it is giving them a timer here to get some objective bounties, get some gold.
We got to go to the picture. Okay.
There you go.
They got the engage after a 2-man keeper's verdict out, at least, but now the re-engage from RA onto the back line as Tarzan getting low, but he tanks up, and Scout has already taken Assume out of the play. As Xiaoshu's actually looking for Scout on the side, but he's all by himself into 4 members of LNG. This might not be the fight that you want, bud. And there he goes down to a double kill to Gala as Zeka is in the side lane. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We'll actually see a little bit of butter spreading here, though.
Yeah, Strive has to use the ultimate. You see that they're getting right back into this play, but no vision onto Scout. Look at where he is. This is another instance where the AD carry is in not a great position to actually deal damage, and Scout from Fog of War puts the tippers on top of Assume, gets the cleanse, and just unable to deal anything. And unfortunate here for Xiaoshu, who teleports thinking that they might be able to turn around the play. And
it's actually RA that want to preemptively go onto him, but Gwen is immune. The dredge line doesn't connect. Gwen isn't immune for that long. Keeper's verdict came out. Gwen is maybe going down finally at the end of the fight. Xiaoshu all by himself yet again in the midst of LNG. And they find yet another advantageous fight. Although it is a 1-for-1, it just means that LNG can force RA's hand.
Walking into Fog of War, we'll see what RA can do. They could just go ahead and try to grab this dragon. And I think rightfully so. They recognize they don't do a single thing here.
Man.
This game is over
That is literally the recreation of that cinematic where the dredge line just comes out of the trees trying to cook Ari. Like, oh, Scout, speaking of coming out of the trees, LNG are coming out of the woodwork here. And RA have no answer. That's a Baron in the eyes of LNG. From strength in this series to strength in their compositional strength going forward and strength in this last play.
Ah, man. It's so sad. 80 carry moment right there. Just didn't have the flash, didn't have the cleanse. It's a tough position to be in, even as does Jinx.
Going at him, man.
Yeah, Tarzan does not care. He is tanky enough. He can just walk at you with this W if he wants for bonus movement speed. He has Scout's shielding as well. The silver lining, I guess, for right now is that RA will get a little bit of gold thanks to Strive being on the opposite side of the map and getting some of those.
For LNG, they needed to come here and get this sweep. They needed to find that stability in their own right. They won over FPX, but it was a 2-1 hard-fought win, and now they're looking for a second in a row.
So far in the LPL, these last couple weeks, we've seen some of the lower standing teams as Xiaoshu gets caught out. This should be the last final push here for LNG.
Feather Storm going forward from Gala. You thought it was a defensive ulti, but it is aggressive in the hands of the star 80 carry. And LNG will put RA in their places here with a little bit of minion help,
man.
but no. We walk away. That's a TP on the backside here. Xiaoshu wants to make the difference. The player of the week for week number 2 in the top lane. Can he be it? He's not able to find any damage back. He goes down and traded. You got Assume getting excited, but Gala's even more excited as he's not even playing Jinx. Assume is getting very, very low and playing by that breath of his life. And it's just Feather going back in and trying to save it, but Scout had already taken out his ADC. Tarzan will find another death, but LNG will find another win.
Oh, let's go for LNG. Again, their schedule does not get much easier after this, but it's got to feel good. Seeing yourself at 4-2, a team that we're expecting to be in the top ends of playoffs, need to continue their streak here in the schedule if they want to make it at the end of the season.
And it just feels so damn good because Scout and Gala, we set them up as these are the carries of the team. If you're going to find success in later games, in decisions, it's Tarzan bridging the gap for these two if he can't find a lead of his own. And rightfully so, Scout ends up at 4-0 and some crazy amount of assists, and Gala ends at like 10-0 on the Xayah. So things are looking right as rain right now for LNG, and the way that they're approaching the game and the pieces are finally coming together for this roster.